June 6, 1944. D-Day. We're invading Normandy, about to take France back from the Nazis.
June 6, 1944. The Allied invasion begins in Europe, in the beaches of Normandy. More than 160,000 troops landed on the beaches. This invasion is best known as the D-Day. D-Day was a victorious day, but at the same time it was the bloodiest day in all the war. This operation is known as Operation Neptune, where the General Eisenhower called it a crusade, where he said he won't accept nothing less than victory. The operation lasted more than 12 hours, where 9,000 soldiers got wounded or killed. The invasion of Normandy wasn't only at one beach. There were many different beaches, and if we compare all the battles, none of them could be compared as the Omaha beach. In each beach, different Allied countries had attacked, but none of them had suffered as the American troopers, where they had lost more soldiers than no other country in that day. Americans might have suffered a lot in D-Day, but thanks to the operation, the war against the Nazis started, and they had an important paper in all the war. The Omaha beach was the most catastrophic of all. Everyone thought the operation would have failed. First, they had to stall the operation because of the bad weather, but later on, they had to continue because the Nazis were finding out about the plan. On the boats, soldiers were vomiting because they had a heavy breakfast before the operation started. The bombings before the operation had failed because the pilots couldn't find their target because of the clouds. Other things that failed were the amphibious tanks, that they were delivered into deep waters and they started to sink. From 27 tanks, only 5 made it to the coast and 3 were destroyed. The Allies had no other option to win this fight than by using only troops. The Allies won the fight because of the spirit of the soldiers that day. Because of the plan failing, they created a new plan which consists on entering hard on the bunkers and clear them all. Also, we have to mention that the beach is totally plain and they had no cover. The operation of D-Day in Utah Beach was known as Operation Overlord. The commander of this operation were General Eisenhower and Montgomery. This invasion consisted on paratroopers landing on the beaches at night and trying to destroy the German defenses. For their surprise, the Germans had flooded the area, and because of the soldiers' heavy equipment, they started to drown. British troopers survived because of the simple gear easy takeoff, but the Americans had to fight for their lives. Also, there was an error where they landed 1 mile away, but this mistake was a blessing at the end, making the soldiers land on French soil to start the attack. This attack later on would only consist with more British soldiers than American soldiers, due to the drowning of the Americans. In D-Day, the Gold Beach was known as the aerial and naval bombardments before the troops landed. These bombardments had successfully knocked out the German defenses and made it easier for the troops to clear the area. It could be said that in all the invasion of Normandy, the greatest win was in Gold Beach because of the troops advancing quickly and got the territory faster than other beaches. All of this happened in the eastern part, but in the west of the beach, the German resistance was stronger and it was difficult for the Allied troops to invade. They had successfully gained the territory when the eastern troopers went to help on the invasion, and in less than 5 hours, Gold Beach was taken. People might say that all the areas suffered a sequel because of the death of the soldiers, but let's say that that's not correct. They were on their own, with only their guns, and with no backup. The areas had backup and had less people killed. Meanwhile, in Omaha, they even had to use soldiers as shields because they were receiving heavy fire from a gun that shot 25 rounds per second. Soldiers were demotivated and scared of dying, and with no cover, they might consider themselves as dead men. In the other beaches, they didn't think that way. They might have the fear of dying, but they actually didn't live what the Omaha soldiers suffered. Omaha troops even had to fight sick because of the heavy breakfast that they had before the operation started. Compared to other beaches, Omaha Beach was the bloodiest due to the fact that they didn't have cover, and they only had the option to win with troops, and it could also have failed because losing 5 soldiers per minute due to the fact that they didn't have no cover and German defenses were extremely good. In conclusion, D-Day is the most important victory in all the World War II because it was the first step on Hitler's army to fail. After D-Day, the liberation of France started, with the help of the French resistance. All soldiers that fought on D-Day are remembered as heroes that saved Europe because without that territory, Hitler might achieve what he wanted, especially soldiers that fought in Omaha Beach. Without Omaha, they couldn't get to the other parts. So thanks to the soldiers in Omaha, the war against Nazis started.